All right, welcome back in, everybody. Rob Ellis, Derek Gunn, hanging out with you, Sports Take. And you know what? After that Eagles loss, we needed a ray of sunshine. And nothing says sunshine like the one and only Larry Andersen. Larry, first of all, good to see you, my man. I appreciate you you joining us, number one. And number two, there he is. There's our guy. It was not easy, but we got it. We got you. All right, Larry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm just saying you have to understand the conversations that I have with Larry.
You had us nervous, Larry. I will just tell you had us a little nervous. That's all.
Be nervous.
Larry, you have no idea the responsibility you have. It was a rough one for the Eagles yesterday, and now we're all turning to you as our guiding light here to help us get through the rest of the day into tonight's game, Larry. So there's a lot on you, my friend.
Well, I was fortunate. I was at a wedding, at my niece's wedding yesterday, so I didn't get to see the Eagles game. So everything worked out perfect.
Well said, LA. Well said, man. You know, as great as the Phillies have been awesome so far during this playoff run, but how about Arizona, man? They're undefeated. Yeah. Ripped through Milwaukee there, ripped through the Dodgers in 3 games. This team's no joke. I mean, I hope people are aware how good this squad is.
Oh, they got a real good ball club. And anything I've read and talked about, a lot of the talk is how this Arizona team is so similar to the Phillies team of last year. Yep. But the one thing I think they've got 2 excellent pitchers right out of the chute, yep, in Gallant and Kelly. But after that, their rotation kind of falls off. And I think that's where there's an advantage for us. But the way they're playing, they're putting points on the board. They're running like rabbits on the bases. They're hitting for power. I mean, they're doing everything very well. And so it's not going to be you're not going to coast over them. I don't think it's going to be a much tougher series, I think, than some people realize.
Hey, Larry, speaking of pitching, let's start with a guy taking the hill tonight in Zach Wheeler. Give me your assessment of what has made him so special and so dominant, especially down the stretch here leading up to this game tonight.
I think a lot of it is his fastball command. Whether he's throwing 97, 98 or 94, 95, obviously he's better. You know, the more velocity, the better with his command. But the fact that it doesn't matter what his velocity is, if he's making his pitches with his fastball, setting up his other stuff, that's what's made him so good, I think. And he's very, very confident in his stuff. He's certainly been a big game pitcher. And I think just a lot of factors come into it. But I think just the one main thing to me is how he's been able to command the fastball and then get to his other off-speed stuff.
LA, let's go to the flip side of that. Give us your scouting report on Zach Gallen. We know local kid, South Jersey kid, has had a heck of a year. He seems to always be top 5 Cy Young contention here, at least the last couple of years. What's he bring to the table?
He brings great command. His fastball, it's a true 4-seamer. He can ride it up in the zone, which he does often. And that's, I'm talking with Kevin Stalker about the hitting part of it. And he's talking about, the high fastball. I was saying we got to lay off of that. But, like with Strider, the high fastball, when the ball's up eye high or, up around the letters, you see the whole ball, which if you compare that to when it's at the knees, you look down, all you're seeing is the top half of the ball. Right. So the higher it gets to eye level, the bigger it looks. And I think the more chance you have of hitters liking that pitch or going after it because they see it so well. But it's so hard to get on top of it. Zach Gallen can do that. He can pitch down in the zone and then elevate with his fastball. And he's got very good command of all his pitches. He's got great off-speed stuff. And I think that's a big key when you can elevate with the fastball and get guys to chase and then go down with the breaking ball, chase down there, at the change of speeds. It makes it very difficult. You can't really, with Gallen, you can't really guess with him. You can't try and guess with him because he's got good command of all his pitches. So as you said, he's in the top 5 last year in Cy Young. He's just, there's always talk of him in the Cy Young category. And just that alone tells you this guy's pretty good. And he is good.
No question.
Yeah, Larry, when you look at this Phillies lineup, and wow, it is that lineup 1 through 9 for any pitcher to contend with. The big money guys, the Schwarbers, the Turners, the Harpers, they've held their own. But I think it has been such a fascinating story how all the understudies have, in a lot of ways, outshined them, like the Castellanos, 4 home runs in 2 games, the Stotts, the Marshes. This back end of this lineup is as potent as a lot of teams' front end of their lineups.
Yeah, I think that's the key. I think that being able to do that all the way down 1 through 9. The one thing right now, I think Schwarbs is scuffling a little bit, but the same thing last year, and then he just went off. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe it's the same thing there this year, that struggling for first couple rounds, but then get to this round and just really turn things around. I think he and Bohm are keys to this. Bohm hitting, I guess he'll be hitting behind Harper. If Bohm needs to kind of get things together too, I think, and he's been a tremendous hitter for the Phillies with runners in scoring position all season. It's been more of a struggle in this postseason. And I think having him behind Harper, it's really incumbent upon him to really turn things around, to maybe make him think a little bit more about not pitching to Harper. Because right now, I mean, that's the one thing when you look at other teams, like they don't want to give Harper anything to hit. And if Bohm's hitting behind him and struggling, it makes that decision for them even easier.
Larry, to your point with Schwarber, all 6 of his home runs in the postseason came in the NLCS and the World Series last year. We tend to forget that, right? But then he went nuts against San Diego, and then it carried over. I expect him to. I feel good about Schwarber in this series. I'll just put it that way. I think he's going to be big for them.
I do too. Having, facing 2 right-handers, albeit very good right-handers in Gallen and Kelly. I think Schwarber obviously would rather see a right-hander than a lefty. And the thing with him is he can turn it on to snap the fingers. He can just turn it around, and that makes a big difference at the top of the lineup.
All right, let me just pick up on one thing you said. Do you think, and I know Rob usually stays pretty true to what he's doing here. Do you think maybe Real Muto goes up to that spot behind Harper, maybe, and Bohm goes down, or do you think he keeps it the same?
I think he keeps it the same. Right. I think when, you go through the first 2 rounds and what you did for most of the year to get you into the playoffs, and then even though with the struggling first couple rounds, I think it's hard for a manager to make changes. It's like, we've had this success, we've ridden this success. If I go around, and Snitker did it with Atlanta in the first game. He changed their lineup all around in that first game. And we were joking mockingly saying, oh, I guess they're scared of us, to make changes like that with what they've done all year. But I think it had an impact on them, and also kind of had us looking at it like, hey, maybe they are a little concerned about
panicky move. Yeah.
Hey, Larry, stepping aside from X's and O's for just a minute, I got to ask you this. I've been wanting to ask you this. How did they coerce you into getting on a flight to go to Atlanta? I thought your traveling days were over, man. How in the world did that happen?
Hey, man, he's got Arizona next. Atlanta's cake compared to that.
I tell you what, when I decided last year to travel for the playoffs, my first trip, I went to St. Louis. The first game, I came back from the game. I'm going to get into my room, which is right at the very first of the hallway, and my key's not working. I see a young couple, maybe around 30, a nice young couple. She's pregnant, real nice people as they're walking by. They go, oh, I can't get in your room, huh? And I'm like, how do you know? And they said, oh, they checked us into your room earlier today.
Oh,
what? They said, yeah, we walked in and we saw shoes, we saw clothes, I'm like, wait a minute, you were in my. So I went downstairs, went through all this. I said, can you explain this? Why my room was given away? And they said, well, it just happens or something like that. And I said, well, can you do anything about it? She goes, what do you want me to do? I said, well, I guess you need to get your manager. So he comes out. He couldn't do much. I said, well, can you get your general manager? So he comes out and he says, hey, I'm really sorry, blah, blah, blah. All, apologies. And that's fine. I understand. But he said, we'll give you a voucher for food and drinks or beverages for $100. Well, I took that. I went into the restaurant that night, had a piece of salmon and some other stuff on the plate, and spent most of the night in the bathroom.
Oh, no. Jeez.
We go to San Diego. I get vertigo. I've never had it. I didn't know what was going on, but my head was spinning, and this was in the morning, so you can't blame it on anything else. I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't be traveling. When they tell me we're going to Atlanta, we go to the airport. The players' plane takes off. We're getting on our plane. we got on our plane and sat in the taxiway or on the tarmac for 2.5 hours with the mechanic. I'm like, maybe I should rethink this traveling thing. Even
yeah, right. Oh my God, that's crazy, man. That is crazy.
I'm just anxious to see what's going to happen when we go to Arizona. Something's crazy happen, I'm sure. So,
oh boy.
Well, for just about everything.
Here's the problem: they won too much last year for you not to do it again this year. That's the problem, right. Larry. You get swept out in St. Louis and be like, yeah, you know what? I'm bad luck. You know.
Hey, Larry, maybe you should take Amtrak.
Go old school, Larry, like Babe Ruth used to travel. Yes. Oh my God, that's unbelievable. All right, I got to ask you. Gunnar touched on it. So I say to this day that in games, the games here back in the games in Philly, games 3 and 4, the Castellanos home runs were so big, Larry, because Atlanta scores early and it didn't take the crowd out of it, but everybody was kind of on edge. And when he hit those home runs, it was like relief and euphoria, and the floodgates opened up. It
was almost like the fans were told that they can't be as loud as you want to be until we score a run or until we tie the game up. And it was once he did that, it opened up. It was like the skies just opened up. A downpour of loudness. The decibels where you get warnings that, hey, this might be hurting your hearing or might hurt your ears. It's phenomenal. But what to get something going early, I think that's a big key, is get something going early, keep the fans in it, keep them engaged. I think that's a big key for us, because even Wheeler said when he was walking out to the mound in the playoffs in the first start he said walking out to the bullpen at home, the ovation, he said that just elevated his game to another level. And I think that it does that for a lot of these Phillies players. The fans get behind them. The energy in the ballpark is tremendous. And I do think it raises the level of maybe focus or intensity or whatever for the players, and they respond to it. And the opposing team, they talked about it last year afterwards. They said maybe our players were kind of intimidated coming in there. They've tried to pump in the noise and everything in Arizona at their workouts and that. It's not the same. I mean, you can try it and it probably maybe helps a little bit, but it's not the same as being there in person and hearing how loud the elevator man, Ken, and at the media elevator at our ballpark. I was asking him, I said, can you feel the noise? Obviously you hear it, when the doors open and stuff. And he said, when we clinched, or when it was not when we clinched, I think it was when Castellanos hit the home run to either go ahead or Turner hit the home run to go ahead. He said the elevator in the building in the park was shaking. I could just feel it. It was like it was vibrating because of the noise, the movement in the stadium. Just phenomenal. And there's nothing like it. Like, people talk about having home field advantage. There is such a thing as home field advantage. There's also a thing called Philly home field advantage. And that's completely different than the others. It's another beast. They take it to another level.
See, I was going to ask you, because you've been around this game and this team for a long time, and we know how raucous it can get. Yankee fans love their team. Dodger fans love their team. But have you ever been around a noise level like what Citizens Bank Park has provided the last couple of years in a playoff atmosphere?
No, it's not. It's not. There's nothing like it, and it's you can do everything all the things you want to try and what's the word I'm looking for? Trying to make it seem like
stimulate. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's until you get there. And the one thing about the fans here, and I just feel like this, whether it's Eagles, I didn't mean to bring them up, but after yesterday, sorry. But people in Philadelphia, the blue collar worker, which this town is, if the Eagles and the Phillies win on a weekend, their week's great.
Yeah.
If they don't win, they're miserable. Mm-hmm. But they live for their sports, and that's not just Phillies. It's Eagles, Flyers, Sixers. They live for sports in this city, and they're passionate about it. They love their teams. They've been through, I don't know, more than anybody else, knowing the agony of defeat. They've had plenty of their share of that in all sports. we need, and I've said this before, I think we need to show these fans a little more of the thrill of victory over the long course of time. And I think that's what this team is doing right now.
Well said, man. Well said. Larry, I got to ask you about the team itself feeding off of Harper. I mean, his presence, his greatness, his clutchness, the whole thing, man. It's just, and I know, look, this is a good lineup head to toe, but man, what that guy brings and how money this guy is, I mean, it is something to behold.
Yeah, I mentioned it to him in the post game the other night about being a red light player, and I told him, and Stock and I were both doing the post game together, and I said, Stock and I both played with a guy, a leadoff hitter who he took it to another level when that red light went on, when that camera was on him, and that was Lenny Dykstra. I've never seen anybody answer the bell to the red light like Lenny had until Harper, and I said that to Harp. And he goes, and he explained about it. He's like, I've been through pressure early in my career, you know, saying at 11 years old, he wanted to be the #1 pick. Getting out of school early, getting his GED, graduating at 17 and going and playing minor league ball or independent ball.
JUCO. Yeah.
He said that was pressure. He said, that was pressure. He said, this is like a bonus. So if you look at it in that respect, he's put himself, and obviously I think he's done it himself. He's put himself in those pressure situations when he was younger. He had to do this. He had to do that. He had to be the best. So now he's been through all that. Now, as he said, this is just fun. It's like, this is a bonus for him. When you can be in a atmosphere like this in the playoffs, and you can say, I've been through pressure. This isn't pressure. This is just what I do. This is what I love to do. Just think of the saying that how relaxed he sounds in these big games. It's the fact that he doesn't get tight. He doesn't squeeze the bat too tight. He doesn't put the pressure on himself. He just said, this is just having fun.
Yeah.
And when you go out there with that attitude of just being that relaxed, your athleticism just takes over. And it certainly has taken over for him in these big spots.
Larry, every move Rob Thompson has made in the playoffs has been lights out. Last game in particular, he takes his closers, Kimbrel and Alvarado, and he moves them up to the middle, and the guys who normally come into mid-innings are closing it out. This man has been rock solid in every decision that you've wanted to question. It has all worked out in his favor.
Yeah, and I look at his decisions like this. And
what you weren't happy that he pulled Ranger in game 1, Larry, after 3 2/3?
I said it to Murph in the post game. I think it was after the first game in Atlanta, and taking Ranger out when he did after 3 1/3, 3 2/3. Yeah. And I said, when am I going to learn? When am I going to learn to stop questioning Rob Thompson's moves? And I said that, and I mean it. It's like, I still look at it like this, like I don't really want to watch, but you have to, and everything he does works. And I think part of that is the trust that he has in his players. No matter if they're struggling or going good, he trusts them. So many people thought about Aaron Nola in his start against Atlanta, like, oh, I'm not sure about Nola. I'm not quite sure. Rob Thompson's response was, oh, I trust him. I think he's a big game pitcher, and I think he's going to come up big. I mean, he exudes that confidence for his players, and I think that helps them. That makes them better. It makes them want to do more for him and for the team. And I just everything he does, he trusts his players. He loves them. He loves being around them. He's honest with them. He talks with them, communicates. You couldn't ask for more from a manager, and I think that's a big reason they play so well behind him.
Larry, you do a great job breaking down mechanics when it comes to pitchers, obviously, because you did it and you coached it. But you've been really good with Nola and talking about what's the key for him, right? And we had your partner on, Scott Fransky. I see you got the shirt. You're rocking the Fransky shirt today. Very nice. Yeah. But he said, the big adjustment he made was looking at the pitch clock on the left side of him as opposed to the right side, and that's kept him more square, to the plate. Is that what you were? I mean, was that part of what you were seeing with him when he was going through his struggles, as opposed to what's happening now?
Well, I'm not being down there and being with him in the bullpen, or having the videos to look at to go over. But I think, to me, the big thing was, and he's been doing this for the last few years, getting under his fastball, like his hand comes underneath it, and it elevates the fastball to a point where it's not in a good elevation. You know, sometimes he can get under it and raise the fastball up, let her high, but you know, for me, the last couple of years, a lot of his pitches have been just above the knees, like six inches above the knees versus at the knees. When he's on top of the ball and throwing downhill, when he keeps the ball at the knees, there is zero damage. And that's all around baseball pretty much. Because if you watch so many hitters on the low strikes, they don't swing at it. And then they complain. They bitch to the umpire like that ball's low. It's not low. But so many pitchers, analytics have brought the level of the fastball, for the most part, even breaking balls, up high. And so now hitters are all adjusted looking up here. Then when you throw one at the knees, there's no way that's a strike. That can't be a strike. That ball's low, and it is. And I'm trying to talk to Aaron a number of times about getting on top of the ball and pitching at the knees would make all the difference in the world. And that's, I think, he felt he was getting blocked off a little bit, maybe crossing his body and blocking off his arm angle, and actually kind of having to drop down to get it to the release point to go with his body. Now he's squared up a little more. He's not fighting that. He's able to get his arm on top and throw more downhill and get that ball lower in the zone. I think that's been the biggest difference. His fastball command, the fact that he's going out there and using it. Smoltz made a comment a while back when he was doing a Fox game about Nola, his fastball. He was using his fastball early and commanding it and establishing it, and then it disappeared. And to me, when he stops using his fastball and he goes to his curveball so much, he becomes predictable. It's like 3-1, 3-2. You're not getting a fastball. You're going to get a curveball or a changeup. I think he became very predictable. And now he's at times with 2 strikes throwing that fastball. And it's almost like it freezes the hitter. They're like, wait, what's he doing out there? I don't get that. So I think all around everything has helped him. But to get on top and being able to command that fastball down in the zone has been a big key for his turnaround.
Larry, you brought up an intriguing point I want to tap a little bit more into. You have unlimited access to talk to these players anytime, anywhere, because you're there around them so much. And you have such a wealth of knowledge to share from a pitching perspective. But do you have to kind of pump the brakes and guard yourself from information that you want to give pitchers so it doesn't contradict what their actual pitching coach is trying to tell them? Do you ever have to pull yourself back?
Yeah, absolutely. It's I don't talk to him near as much as I did 3-4 years ago.
Okay.
I would like to. I would like to, get into their heads a little more, talk a little bit about them. About one of the big things I believe so much in is the thought precedes the action. And a lot of the stuff that I believe in is not stuff that I made up. It's stuff I learned from Steve Carlton. The thought precedes the action. Gaylord Perry, playing with Tony Gwynn, talking to him about hitting. You learn so much about pitching from a good hitter, a great hitter. Nolan Ryan. To me, one of the keys about coaching is that you have the experience, not of what you've done specifically all the time, but what you've learned from great Hall of Fame pitchers, being around the game, being in the game for so long and playing with so many great pitchers. You learn so much from everybody. And so I like to share that stuff with the pitchers, but nowadays the mode of coaching is different. It's more analytically driven. I don't see as much value in analytics when it comes to mechanics as it used to be, as the old school guys who have been through it and experienced it. But again, like you said, I limit myself to what I say or what I can say to the players or pitchers anymore. But I still have my opinions. That doesn't change. But I don't feel like I share it as much as I normally would.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes sense. I wanted to pass this along. So, Larry, there was a little bit of thought that maybe Rhys Hoskins was going to be on the NLCS roster. He won't. Obviously, they just don't feel like he's quite ready yet, I would assume. It sounded a little bit like what Rob Thompson said yesterday, that he might be, but maybe they're just trying to buy him a little bit of extra time. Maybe the World Series. Who knows? That would be fascinating to have that bat off the bench, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would be. I think the emotional part of it would be so uplifting for the team, because what what he's meant to this club. And whether you love him, whether you hate him, whether he's swinging a bat great and not swinging a bat great, he always stands there and takes the questions. He always stands there, stands up for his team. He takes a lot of the heat off of them when he's in there. And I think, to me, I think the players look at him as kind of a leader of their team, and it's hard to put yourself in that position when you're not able to play. Yeah. But he's still around. He does what he can to help. Obviously now down in Florida, trying to get in shape to be able to come off the bench. He's not taking any ground balls yet, so right. It would strictly be just to have his bat off the bench. Mm-hmm. But just to have him there, I think that would be a tremendous lift for the team. But is it something that makes sense if he's strictly going to be coming off the bench just for a couple swings? I don't know, but yeah. I think I would love to see him back.
All right, LA, we appreciate it. All right, so we can't wait to hear about the adventures after you go out to Arizona.
Oh my goodness,
that's going to be I never knew any of this, man. Jeez,
hey, I can see it now. Opens his luggage and there's a rattlesnake in his luggage or something.
Maybe Fransky would do that to him just to mess with him. Who knows?
I did get a chill in Arizona during the season. I think the last time I was out there. So I'm not a tarantula, a scorpion.
A scorpion,
really?
Yeah.
It was in my room. I was crawling towards the bathroom. I took a picture and then I blew it up to make it look like it was like 8 feet long. Out to the guys. So we'll see.
Love it. All right, LA, we appreciate it, man. We'll look for the call tonight, 807. Yourself, Scott Fransky, Kevin Stocker, Tom McCarthy in the mix as well. All you guys do an amazing job, man. We appreciate it, LA. Thanks.
Larry, thank you, man.
All right, take care, Larry.
Yeah.
All right, that is Larry Andersen, man. He's a trip. How about all that stuff going on the road trips? What the heck is happening there, man?
Oh my goodness,
unbelievable! Wow.
And I want you in tone. I want you in tone to remember something that Larry just said. I want you to let it resonate moving forward. Okay. Thought precedes the action. So when you and Tone are teaming up and double teaming D-Gun, I want you to think about what you're saying and how much it pierces the left side, how much it hurts and pierces the left side that pumps blood. I just want you to understand this.
All right. I'm taking that into account. I'm putting that into process right now as we speak. All right. That was fascinating. All right. So when we come back, we'll go back to the Eagles, Derek, and we're going to look at the offensive side of the ball, which really, in my opinion, cost them the game yesterday. So let's dive into that when we come back. We'll get to the defense as well. Our entire NFL segment. We'll look at some of the big games, some things that affect the Eagles, etc. We got a lot to do, so don't go anywhere. That's Derek Gunn. I am Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take. Let me tell you about Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group, because knowing who to trust with your finances, it's everything, right? You work way too hard not to have your money invested with the right person and the right way, okay? But I can tell you from personal experience, I could not have found a better person than Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group, whether it's retirement planning, 401k review, insurance review. If you have a small business and you need help with your employee benefits, that's another resource that Jim and Principal can help you with. Personally, I've entrusted my IRA, 401k rollover, you name it. All right. So you can give him a call. Very easy. Get a consultation, talk to Jim, 610-996-4751. 610-996-4751. You could also email him as well, Murray, MURRAY .Jim @principal.com. That's Murray.Jim @principal.